Hey everybody, this is Kubernetes SIG architecture meeting for August 6th, 2026. I'll share the agenda. Okay, Ryan, you're up first, it looks like.
Awesome. Camera. Hi, hey everybody. So I wanted to follow up on a discussion we actually had several months ago around this topic, around the this issue is called specialized lifecycle management. And I think we kind of left it as we're going to go to KubeCon, and we're going to talk about a few issues and then have some discussion, and then I'd come back here. So I wanted to report back and give an update on things. So I would say the biggest highlight from this work after all the discussions from KubeCon and afterwards was we came to some alignment on a CAP 4137, and this was called Node Lifecycle Conditions. And the summary of this CAP was to add new conditions to the node, the first that I believe been added in a while. And essentially, if you were to look at the work and the change, it's basically stamping out these variables inside of the node for the node to be used by the admin and to be used by controllers in future expansions. So essentially, that work was landed as part of 137. And for this group and this purpose of this call, what I wanted to do is to talk about what would be next and some of what we're thinking of what we would do next, and just hear thoughts from people and gather feedback on some of that direction. So before I do that, is there any questions though about the context about these conditions and or anything people would like to ask? Okay.
Really, I think, oh, with her hands, I didn't. Okay, go ahead, Kevin.
Uh, yeah, I guess for this, I would love to like a priority list of like which ones you would be doing for uh, the next release because like there are a lot of options here, but I don't think we have all the cycles to tackle them all in the same release.
Yeah, it's a good question. We're still trying to work that out as a part of the Node Lifecycle Working Group. I would say at this point, the way we've kind of organized it is there's been several CEPs that have been filed for the use cases around, various controllers that would pick up these conditions, and we actually have a bunch of people that have stepped up to assign themselves to them. So I'd say like my take to answer that question is right now is like we still need to determine that inside the working group. I don't know yet. Um, but I mean, right now, my sense is like we'll pick one or two. But momentum's good. We have a bunch of people who signed up for it. I'm kind of hoping maybe it will become clear when we get further in the discussion.
So,
So, Ryan, just following up to that, like you mentioned about like we have several people who are active, like who's active and who is likely to like continue, in your opinion, being active for the next few cycles.
Well, so let me clarify. Like, well, basically what I did is I filed a bunch of KEP issues, and there were a bunch of people who reached out to me who wanted to work on those KEP issues. And there's people who had been sort of like in discussion about these topics in the past.
Right.
They just haven't seen an avenue to contribute around these efforts, and so they had stepped up and volunteered to want to work on the KEP. And
Okay.
so we're gonna have on Monday, this upcoming Monday, we're going to be talking about these efforts and the KEPs that these people would want to work on. And there's several folks. There's a few, so LinkedIn, Microsoft, someone from Apple recently reached out to me, and then Uber contributors from each of those companies had volunteered for these.
Okay. So is there a regular call that's being recorded and tracked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So we do it on Monday in the life cycle working group meetings.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
so the one thing I would suggest is that the would be, I would think that it would be best to address highest priority the cube components that set or clear these conditions, because then people can start relying on them with their third party controllers. So like your cube control drain one, right? Like if it did that, then anybody with a third party controller that cared about that stuff would be able to start working on that right away. Whereas if we just focused on the things that react, I'm then it doesn't have as much ecosystem impact. So that's just one small suggestion.
Okay. That actually, I'll go to that here. Let me go to. I have it listed here. An example too. That what you just mentioned, John. Yeah, it's pretty much like what you talked about. It's like the use case for this, which John called out, is that we have this two condition: drain in progress and drained. And so the thought was is that what we could do is extend kubectl drain to essentially set those conditions, and it would be like you run kubectl drain, it sets the condition on the node drain in progress true, and it runs to completion, whatever that drain criteria is in kubectl drain. It sets drain progress to false, and then it sets drain equals to true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
exactly.
so that make yeah, so that makes sense. Like that's kind of the idea is that right, so we can build the stuff around it. Yeah.
All right, cool. Any other questions on this topic? Okay, thank you, Ryan.
Thanks.
Kevin?
Yeah, sorry. Supposed to be out sick today because my daughter is sick. So if she wakes up, I'll have to run out. So we'll see how it goes. Uh, Basically, what's been going on is I probably came to this meeting back in November or December about talking about an integration called CodeRabbit. We've kind of enabled it in projects like Q, Agent Sandbox, and JobSet, and overall the feedback has actually been pretty positive. Part of my reason why I wanted to incorporate this was I was always trying to like the reviews in Kubernetes are much like they are pretty time consuming, and I think having some kind of like and then the only option we have is Copilot, which the only way you can request a Copilot review is by being someone that has write access on the repo itself to actually request it. So like reviewers are not able to kind of request these reviews as a follow up. And uh, basically, I'm like my hope was we could have some kind of pilot in Kubernetes where even if we do enable this optional, where we could trigger reviews to at least see how this like we could start working on getting this working better in tree Kubernetes. Now it seems the conversation, I guess the vibe I'm getting is we don't know if we really want to do this on Kubernetes. I don't know like what barometer we want to have to decide if we want this or not, or we just kind of are like we don't really want any automated review tool on Kubernetes.
So I'll have an opinion there. I think that I think we should use all the tools we can, but also we don't want to make a whole bunch of noise. So like if people can request a review from it as opposed to it automatically reviewing it, I don't see any problem there. And I think I saw just scanning through just now, as you saw, Ben's comment about king making. Like, well, if you're requesting it and we just have options you can request it from, it's not really king making. But ultimately, it's kind of up to like Contribex probably to make this decision. But for what it's worth, my opinion would be give us access to all the tools we can and let us use them. Don't
Yeah, I
necessarily
mean,
make them automatic.
I will say that I mean the people that I asked, like I have talked with ContributeX, and they have said it's SIG Architecture's decision. And then like
Okay, in that case, go for it, in my opinion.
well, no, there are other people here that also disagree on that one. But like basically, Bob, Mr. Bobby Tables is the person I've been working with, and he's just waiting on if SIG Architecture is happy, like going forward with this, I think that's pretty much what we would need if Ben has more concerns. But um,
Yeah,
yeah,
let's hear from Ben, and then we'll talk more.
Yeah, so I talked to them about this. The CNCF vetting of this is literally just LF Legal looked at it and they're like, I don't think we have a legal concern. That's the extent of it. And they have no agreement. So it's just the like open source program with ambiguous quota. I don't think we want to start like depending on that for a huge project like Kubernetes. I've been poking Contrabex leads, and um, I think Contrabex needs to be more involved in this conversation, and I think we should pursue something like Copilot where we know we can actually, get involvement from the company providing it to have some commitment to us, so we don't get rug pulled. We've been through this a number of times with infrastructure. They have a program that we're currently using for maintainers, so it'd be a little weird that like Kate's CI robot isn't exactly a listed maintainer, but it sounds like we could probably get around that with an explicit ACK from the CNCF and GitHub if the project were fine with it. And then there's a whole follow-up conversation about how and when does it actually get requested where. And I would recommend that we go back to the like some of the existing projects that have been using this and like continue to iterate on that like tooling piece, because as you mentioned, people don't have write access, but like our robot has write access, so we can have a robot A request robot B. I think that may be a little bit better, and I would still be hesitant to like rush to doing Kubernetes. I think it's a little different if people are requesting it, but I think that because of like quota and things, that's very uneven, and we need to find a way that it's kind of like fair for all the community. I mean, similarly, people could start requesting like a robot from Google do reviews if they're a Googler or something. And I don't think we want to go down that path. I think we want to have something that like is the projects.
What's the concern? Like,
I don't
any
GitHub
human can
GitHub
come in
does
to do a review. Why can't
sure,
any robot
right.
come
But
in
if people are being noisy about that, we will kick them out. Like GitHub, it's
Sure.
just a matter of practicality. GitHub will fall over if you have too many comments on a PR.
Yes,
If we just go invite a free for all that everyone can invite automation to comment on our pull requests, we're gonna get startups going, oh, I should review every Kubernetes PR for the visibility, and it's not manageable.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like if the author of the PR or the human reviewer whose job it is to review the PR wants to invoke a tool, like those are the people that I think should be able to do it. Like if we have more tools available to those humans, like the person who put the PR in or the person who is on the hook for reviewing it, and we don't have to give problematic GitHub permissions to those bots. Like if it's a read-only integration, if it's a like if all the permission stuff is reasonable and the humans actually involved in the PR are requesting it, I don't object. But as soon as we set up a tool that can be invoked, my experience is that it's like, oh, all you have to do is add a slash comment to invoke a review. And so then what's the first thing that shows up? It's a bot that adds slash comments to invoke reviews on every. So like,
right. So I mean, maybe it has to be either, like you said, a reviewer or author or org member or some trusted, more trusted.
I don't even think org member cuts it. Like that's such a low bar and people kind of drive by spam. Yeah. I think it needs to be like in the owner's file or something. That's exactly why Copilot's built-in mechanism is that you have to have write access to the repo to request it or be the PR author. If you don't have like, because GitHub's permissions is not quite as granular as ours, but like they want, some way that it's not just like drive by requesting it. I think it's the same thing here. If we open up to drive-by requesting it, we open up to every bot on the internet, and it will be difficult to get anything done.
Yeah. So I don't want to stand in the way of like the author or the reviewer making use of a tool. And if the worst case is like it exceeded the quota and the tool's like, sorry, you exceeded the quota. Like, okay, you can't use the tool you wanted to use. That like, I don't want to stand in the way of humans, the actual humans involved doing a thing. But I don't want the integration that's going to like lead to bot spamming. And if you can trigger it with a comment, I think that's where it will end up. So, yeah.
So what I'm hearing, I mean, basically what I'm hearing is like we can with CodeRabbit, there's a way to say don't review on any PR, and then once the bot is installed in I think the repo, you can trigger it through like at CodeRabbit AI review. And then like a reviewer could ask for a review of a PR, and then we could do this like manually from like the reviewer standpoint. I mean, right now, like
but it's not just anybody commenting; it's a reviewer or the author.
Yes.
Yeah,
Or
someone who's in the owner's files, ideally, which is
or
why I
assign
go back.
the PR, like the stuff that's already legible on GitHub, like the PR author or the assignee.
yeah,
Like,
I mean,
Well,
the
but you
owner's
can
file.
self-assign, and people do just randomly self-assign themselves to things.
But those are still org members, right?
yeah, if you're
I
self-assigned
don't.
and you're requesting it, like that seems like within the realm.
Okay, well, we should. I guess my point is we should double check that, and like as a general thing, like we want to have some, controls in place for that. That's why I raised like doing it through our our bots requesting other bots, because then we can enforce whatever policy we want there, versus outsourcing to someone else's policy mechanisms.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think
I
that's
don't know.
fine.
I think the issue is I don't know if we would get any of that with the tools off the shelf. We would have to write that ourselves.
Yeah, but we already have code that's like, post comments or assign people to things, and it shouldn't be substantially different for that to post the relevant comment with the bot that has write access, or to assign another bot. Like,
Yeah,
that's
I mean,
very
I guess
simple.
maybe
The
that's
real
the
question
issue.
is just deciding what the what the model is, which I think we've basically sketched out on this meeting.
Yeah, I don't know who does that work though. I guess that's SIG contribux.
Yes.
Testing owns the repo, but we will run any workflow by contribux, because it would need to be in Proud. We don't want to build another GitHub webhook. I can help with that, but I think we need to go to contribux and make sure that we're aligned.
Yeah, I guess my only thing, like, we are limited by what the proprietary tool that we are using. So, like, I know CodeRabbit. I don't think CodeRabbit would look at anything like the org permissions.
Right. So what Ben is saying is, the way you would invoke this is you'd use a prow command to say, review by CodeRabbit or something, right? Like whatever it is, and then our robot would look at that and do whatever it needs to assign it to that robot. And since our robot has write access, it could do the Copilot one, but it could do other ones as well. And
Right.
it would check your permissions. Oh, you're requesting that, and it would allow or disallow it.
Like, more generally, this is how we do permissions. Like, we have a super user bot and we implement our own permission model.
Right. But that won't stop anybody from doing an add CodeRabbit AI just because, that's the default way CodeRabbit works, right?
Can we configure it to only respect our robot or something?
I don't know.
I don't know. The permissions from configuring it are pretty minimal. So you install it or not, and they have a YAML on the repo
Can you
level.
limit it to like write access or something?
I don't know. I mean, all the other projects I've worked on, this hasn't come up, at least for JobSetter Q. We just auto review.
Yeah, Kevin, we have a really high bar, and I would even go as far as to say Kubernetes is going to be the last repository that is going to get it. Not the first, right?
Yeah. It's not even a question of the bar. It's like the degenerate cases come out in Kubernetes.
Exactly.
The bots summoning things like that. This is where they come out.
Right.
And so
every day we are still dealing with AI. Anyway, that's a whole another story.
It's not far-fetched edge cases. Like, these are the patterns we see in this repo, unfortunately.
Correct. So I want to make a different point, which I haven't made anywhere else, as far as I remember, which is, CodeRabbit is still a startup, right? And we don't know what they're going to do, and we don't know how they're going to change their business model. And if they start pumping ads or something of that sort, we have no idea when they will do it, how they will do it, and how fast we can react to, like, clamping down on it, and then people will still be, yelling at us saying like, why did you take this tool away, sort of thing. So that is another one. And then if we are able to pay for it, I think this is a point that Ben made earlier. Then we have control over like our terms and conditions with them. And if we are relying on a free double quotes tool, then we are left at their mercy, right? Like so. I would even say that like we should get CNCF to talk to CodeRabbit and have a formal relationship where they are sponsoring our work, and thus have for us to have a way to give some of this input, especially the concern about like advertisements and whatnot. Like last week or 2 days ago, we heard that BMW cars, you get the ad from Spider-Man movie, right? Like, so you never, it's not supposed to happen, but it's happening, right? Like, so those are the kind of things that can go wrong. So if we are paying for it, then we have a little bit more control. And if we have a formal relationship with those companies, then we'll have a little bit more control over what we can do. I think we need to take that into consideration as well as we go along.
I think Sergey is next, but yeah, that was basically my point, Demps. Like we have the CNCF has a relationship with GitHub. We have a deep relationship with GitHub, so I'm a little bit more comfortable depending on that. They're providing this funding to our maintainers. They even have Kubernetes on a dedicated GitHub Enterprise instance, and we have recurring meetings between CNCF, Contrabex, and Kubernetes and at GitHub. So we know what we're getting into if we start depending on another GitHub feature. With a startup that is just we're just signing up as a random individual and using their free quota, Kubernetes has been down that path multiple times, and we've stopped doing that because it always bites us.
This is kind of equivalent to like when Slack, everybody started adding their own stuff and we had so much trouble, right? So that is why our Slack is the cleanest Slack, and like we don't have any of the stuff, and we ended up writing our own automation for the things that we wanted.
Sergey, I think you have your hand up. I can go after you.
Yeah, I think one thing is similar to what just discussed, which tool to pick, and I think from SIG architecture we need to change the AI contribution policy, because today I think they're saying that all reviews needs to be human reviews, and if we change it for one robot, we need to understand like how we do we just name the robot that is allowed to do non-human reviews, or if it's requested by human, then any robot is fine. It's kind of update to AI contribution policy would be needed if we enable it. And second one is more of a question. Like every agent's MD update is a bike chat. I wonder if there are experience with that in other projects, like how fast we can react on reviewer, like AI reviewer going in the wrong direction, trying to correct it through agent MD. Like, is there some way we can expedite it somehow?
Yeah, I mean, the truth is these tools aren't perfect. At least for I know Janet has did a lot of work on Agent Sandbox, trying to tune Copilot so that the reviews are actually good, because she, built a whole like series of ways to request the reviews to kind of fight against all the people that were opening up PRs, and it's on her to do that. And so there's a lot of tuning about like the different instructions you put the Copilot, adding some basically an agents.md file for Copilot to help with reviews. CodeRabbit has something similar. You can have agents.md linking out to like code conventions. That helps to kind of make sure that we're following certain conventions if somebody changes something. The nice thing that people like about CodeRabbit is it like Copilot's kind of one way from my experience. It puts a comment, but I don't know if it responds back to you. One of the nice things about CodeRabbit was that a lot of times if it hallucinates, you can actually say you were wrong, and it will confirm and then kind of resolve the thread. That's something that's been helpful. Like, and that's done even in the open source tool that we use for Q and others. So like that has been helpful. But yeah, I mean, I guess we need some more thought on how to basically enable this in like a tool agnostic way, because like maybe Copilot, like CodeRabbit has been more positively viewed than Copilot in at least a couple of the projects I've worked on. Like I know the hard part is I can't get maintainers for Q to like request reviews for Copilot, and then they've gotten used to like the automated review request, then they like it. So
Kevin, and the key there is right this minute, right? Like so, that is part of the thing that bugs the hell out of me, which is like we are saying yes. Right now, it seems to be the decentish of all the things that we have seen so far, but like how
but
long?
nothing's, I mean, yeah, but
Yeah,
nothing's really going to last that long within the AI
exactly.
tools. They'll all be like in 5 years, half of them won't exist anymore.
Right. Again, like so, we are reliant on GitHub for running our project, right? Like so, that's why we have those relationships.
Yeah. Also,
Yeah.
to be clear, if we get a relationship, then that changes the story. But like, I've poked CNCF unofficially about that, and there is none, and like no one has pushed for that yet. And that may take some time. We also have some room to like. We have very strong channels for providing feedback to GitHub, so we should lean into that a bit.
So I guess, Ben, how is that going to work? Like, do we can Kevin and me, open up an issue with Kubernetes steering, so Kubernetes steering can go
For the
talk
quota
to
thing,
CNCF?
I've opened one as myself with contributor experience because I believe this falls to them. There was a comment earlier about the contribution policy that's somewhere between Contribex and steering. And we actually already explicitly permit these like experiments that are happening in the smaller repos with the automated, fully automated, auto requested reviews, but like Contribex is reviewing and approving each one. So they've
How
been
do we
owning
go to the barrier right between Kubernetes steering and CNCF is the question, right? Like so we can formally ask CNCF for this
for the
relationship.
quota. So again, I'm playing with a couple different hats here. Like unofficially, somewhere between steering and testing, I've chatted with CNCF folks to feel out if there's a problem there. If they think GitHub will have a problem, the answer seems to be no. It should be fine. We just need to file a request. Right now, we have said that Contribex is requesting the Copilot credits because it falls there. But if I want to, I just poked that. I want to follow up there. We can have steering do it, but usually steering doesn't do resource requests now because we have Kate Zemfra and Contribex who are managing these things.
Well, we ask you for money, right? So
Yes.
that's what we have
Yeah.
asked
So
you for permission.
I guess if that's not going anywhere, then I'll put on the other hat and like file a file a Kubernetes/steering bug with me. There's an issue in community, and I just like this morning realized that no one had actually poked the SIG leads alias on there. So I pinged them. I'm gonna ping in Slack. Let's see if they respond because that aligns with the other request that they just handled for maintainers to have access. It's only slightly different since it's not technically a maintainer account. And if they don't respond, then file a ticket with me under the steering repo and I'll go there. Honestly, if you do it as steering, it's also slightly slower because I need to rally the whole group to
the troops there. Yes, of
vote.
course, I agree. Yeah. I mean, we want to keep the momentum going, however slow the momentum is. That's all there is.
Right. I had a chat with one of the leads like yesterday unofficially about how do they feel about these things. So I don't, private conversation, but like, I think we'll hopefully get a follow up from them soon.
Okay, sounds good.
Even with that smaller group, they need to discuss.
Yeah, got it.
And then if that does happen, whatever the tool is, then to keep the momentum going, the next thing is I put on my other hat and I will help unblock. We need to get some stuff into Prow to control this.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next? So the next step then? Do we want to write up a doc or issue or something with the next steps and each thing that needs to be done and track it?
We could keep going in the existing issue and like make it a general thing. Like if we were going to enable an AI tool, what would we do? What would we do it what are the standards? I tried to summarize some of what we talked about in the CodeRabbit one already. We can turn that one into a generic one, or we can make a umbrella one. Like either way, but I like saying like, how do we go about it? What are the standards for it? What are the principles? And then CodeRabbit becomes one instance of it. It's like if it meets those things, then sure, along with any other that meets those things.
Yeah, I think I was going to ask if we capture it back, which you did. There's a cross-linked issue, which I've linked in the chat. That's the other thing we're talking about with the quota and whatever
stuff. If you want to summarize some of what you just talked about, Ben, that would be helpful.
Okay. Yeah.
So I guess maybe the issue is there's a lot of granularity on this policy across like some SIG project, like because right now our request has been like SIG projects can request their own integrations, and if they are approved, like are we going forward? Like if somebody wanted to use something not like CodeRabbit but like Reptile, are we saying that like all of these have to be gated by like this Prower integration, or SIG projects can be free to kind of work with GitHub integrations?
That is still there, right, Kevin? Like, so a few projects already have CodeRabbit, and let's continue to grow that, right? Like whoever, they can follow the existing pattern that you already set, right? For the tools that they want. Right now, we are talking about like the heavy hitters like Test Infra and KK, right? So experiments can continue in the rest of the repositories, but like I said, the yardstick is like really high. The bar is really high for the important ones.
So do we? Well, yeah, but I guess the issue is like we have Kubernetes auto scaling asking for CodeRabbit. Do we view like Kubernetes like org as like at a higher tier than like the SIG projects, and they should follow like this org one?
I mean, anything that requires org installation, yeah, it bumps up the higher bar. If it's per repo, there are a few things under the Kubernetes org that, like, if we were starting them today, we'd start them under Kubernetes SIGs.
Yeah.
If it's per repo, I'm happier to let it be on the admins of that repo to like figure out what they want to.
Yeah, if CodeRabbit says only this will only work if you enable it at the Kubernetes org level, then it's going to follow the bar that we wrote down just now.
Okay.
So also on the Prow thing, that's just like a way. Like if we can get controls we're happy with from the platform, I think that's a different conversation.
Right.
The reason we're discussing that is because it generally sounds like we can't get the controls we want, so we can implement our own.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, being clear about the controls we want, the bar we want, in a generic way, might actually be not a stick, but like for AI review tools, like if you want to be enabled on like big high traffic broad impact repos, like you kind of need some of these like opt-in, just the author or the assignee, like that needs to be an option for you. And like maybe we could make some of these have like some better controls or things for these big repos. I'd love that.
I think having Proud do it is just kind of attractive anyhow, because we are already handling like reviewer and approver assignment, and at some point we should probably kind of consolidate the flow for that, for what's reasonable. If some group wants to auto assign all the PRs they're going to review or something, then like those controls should probably be in the same place as where we're assigning humans. Like maybe we do something like we don't assign the humans until after the first pass review. I don't know, but like the flexibility to do that makes more sense if it's in one place where we decide what that looks like versus farming it out to a bunch of third parties.
Yeah, I'll just answer a couple of things in the chat. Arno, if we have to do Gemini, the yardstick is the same yardstick, but then it's a separate request. Like we've been doing. Lubomir, the Prow plugin, the problem is the GitHub Copilot, for example, doesn't expose an API that we can call. So that's the problem with Copilot and Prow. So we tried that. So we got stuck there. And GitHub told us they are not going to open up an API for triggering stuff.
Interesting. Okay.
Just to be clear, we allow robots to come in, but we don't allow people to copy from Gemini output and paste the review from Gemini, right?
So No,
still not allowed.
no. We allow people to go to contributor experience and request setting up one of these experiments to use a robot automation in an approved fashion. There's a process for this. We don't allow any other robots, and that includes people like botting their accounts. We want to interact with you, not with your bot.
Yeah, I appreciate this response. I think we need to make it clear because I see precedents already. People placing a wall of text, which is a review for PR.
So that should be how the policy is written currently. If you see a gap in that, then file an
No,
issue.
it is how it's written. I just want to make sure that you're not open the door for it.
So I'll tell you an experiment that I'm running, Sergey, which is I can trigger a skill that I wrote, which goes through some CI/CD logs and stuff like that, and gives a response for like a flaky or a failed test.
Dims, if you're fully automating that, I don't think that's in line with the policy, and I also don't think that's
I'm
safe.
not
You have a lot
automating
of
that.
permission on your account.
I'm triggering that.
Right, but if it's using your account, that is not following the guidelines. We should rethink that.
I can switch it off. That's not a problem.
Yeah. Well, and also because we don't want other people to see that and think that they should just communicate using their bots. And for many of the people in this call, you have a very high degree of permissions through your comments. So be very careful about letting automation post comments as you, because you can do things like merging PRs via your comments.
No, this is explicitly read only. It doesn't do anything of that sort.
Okay.
Okay, Kevin, I think we need to get to the next
that's
topic.
fine. I guess the thing that maybe I'm struggling with is like we probably need to figure out like a good avenue to have like discussions around like AI usage in Kubernetes, and maybe figure out like it could possibly be config contribux, but like I'm struggling where these conversations we should be having, because we're having them basically twice a year at KubeCon, and that's it. And like I don't know if SIG architecture is the right, I mean, it could be the right forum for Kubernetes, but like, we're kind of discussing stuff around NQ and Agent Sandbox, like the use of skills for like maintainership. And I'm just like not clear like where we should be taking these like conversations.
About using automation on GitHub more generally.
Well, like there are also other things like I think it should be fine to use like Claude Code to like generate like a regression analysis of failing tests, because like that's like it's pretty time consuming to create these tests, these GitHub issues manually, and like at the end of the day, like why does it matter if someone's using an AI tool or
because volume and quality, right? If you're using a tool to analyze something for you, you vet it and you post something yourself, that's pretty different, right? Like we're not telling you can't regression analyze things. We're telling you can't like fill up the repo with automated behavior without
we want a human in the loop, like judging the output.
I mean,
we want a human in the loop, and then for anything
for what gets posted,
for anything that isn't, I mean, the answer is contributor experience. Like even for our existing non-LLM automation, if SIG testing wants to make a change to a PROW workflow, we go talk to contributor experience. Like that's not new.
I did want to save time for this last topic.
Yeah, sure. Sorry.
So I just because this could change what we backport to a release branch to fix conformance.
I'll follow up offline about like where we should have these conversations in the future, because I don't know. I mean, I can keep coming to SIG architecture on them, but I don't know if that's necessarily the right avenue. Like, I don't know if maybe I can talk to SIG contribux separately, and maybe we can figure out a way to staff this more frequently. Seems to be coming up across different meetings a lot.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's
all right. Thanks, Kevin. So, Chris.
Hello. So my name is Chris Friesen. I work on a open source project called Starling X and a commercial product that's based on top of it, and it's aimed at high performance use cases. We have defaulted to the static CPU manager policy for at least a couple of years now. in the 135, 136 timeframe, the conformance tests started failing if run on a node that uses the static CPU manager policy due to an arguably overly aggressive check that fails in place resize of all guaranteed pods, when probably it only needs to fail the resize of pods with exclusive CPUs. And so then that led me to get involved with this whole topic of what do conformance tests actually mean. So there was some discussion on Slack, but it's kind of not clear to me what config options should be allowed to break conformance tests. Or fail conformance tests. The docs say that conformance tests cannot depend on optional features, but it also doesn't explicitly make it clear that enabling an optional feature can cause conformance tests to fail.
So
and then
I think so I think that part of the confusion, I put this in the Slack, I'm not sure if it's clear, is like conformance is not about clusters. Conformance is about distributions. And like all you have to do is be able to create a configuration with your distribution that passes conformance. So like your default. So if it's possible to turn off the static CPU, you said it by default you use the static CPU manager. If it's possible,
so like because of our target audience, none of them would ever want to use none. Like everybody uses static, and so in ours we don't actually make it possible to turn it off. Okay. so like if we have to be able to do that, like it looks like in this case there may be a fix that goes in to tweak the check so that it will actually pass conformance even with static turned on. But I'm just thinking about like down the road if something like this happens again. The fact that we're saying that we want an end user to be able to configure it so that it passes conformance means that for an opinionated distribution, you have to have some way of changing that configuration either at install time or at runtime to like a conformant mode, as well as the one that you actually want to be distributing. Which I guess is fine if that's what the requirement is going to be. But the other thing that I think is an interesting discussion would be like, if something has been passing, what are the requirements for making a conformance test or introducing a new conformance test that breaks installers or clusters that were previously conformant?
Yeah, we try to avoid that, but we can't retest, hundreds of distributions. So we sometimes don't succeed.
Yeah, and I was actually really surprised that nobody was actually running conformance tests with the static CPU manager policy, because we've been running it for so long that it seems like pretty straightforward and pretty obvious. But I guess it's kind of a niche.
It's the fractal space of
you
have 100 options. We don't have 100 to the 100th.
Yeah, right. No, I get it for sure.
Yeah. John, to your point about conformance is about distributions, I agree, but features that live in Kubernetes and are like, here's things that live in the open source project feel different than, a distribution might like put some extra policies in place, or like they have their own security.
If I turn on RBAC, I can easily make conformance not work by creating policies that disallow.
No.
To run, right?
Not inherently. Like that's the thing. Like turning on RBAC doesn't break that, and you can use RBAC in parallel with conformance passing.
Sure. So one of the things we tried to do a long time ago was like try to create like this idea of different conformance profiles where certain sets of features would work. But like the reality is like there's not a lot of energy to mess with the conformance program.
No, I'm just saying like if there's a feature, like if it's incoherent to develop features in the open source project that are incompatible with conformance. Like there's no way to use this feature and be a conformant cluster. Like that's a weird.
I don't know, like being able to turn off RBAC, for example, like we leave that technically possible, but you're going to need that for, right?
No, actually, it's optional.
Hang on, let me finish my thought. Like to say here's a feature, here's a configuration, we test it, we document it, and by the way, if you turn it on, it's impossible for your cluster to be conformant. That's unexpected. Like, that's weird. Like, yeah, there's lots of things. If you turn on validating emission policy, you turn on that feature, and then you go create a policy that says disallow creating anything. Like, yeah,
but this is you're setting a specific policy on the node, right, for how it manages CPU. You could create other nodes that can pass conformance, right? Like,
but if your conformance test happens to run on that node, it's going to fail.
That is a problem.
I think there's a couple of things to tease apart here. So one is this specific instance. I think we should probably find a way to fix it. The general concept of how should we make sure that conformance works with all the options? I think the reality is that's just wildly impractical, and we're going to rely on reports like this to follow up.
Can we flag config options as like this breaks conformance?
Well, but here's the thing: we would the only way we could commit to that is if we're testing the matrix of turning all of them on, which is just not sustainable. We're not going to know.
Let's take the intent separately from can we effectively protect?
Oh, sure, but we don't have an intent behind. I don't think we've ever shipped a feature where we're like, definitely, I'm building this feature in a way to break conformance. That's only happened on accident. Like in this case, right? No one said, oh, we should break CPU manager static tests. It just isn't. We're just not aware because we can't test all the combinations.
Right. Ben, the thing there I was thinking about was in PRR, for example, right? We can ask a question saying, did you run this, run a conformance test with this feature switched on?
Sure, right? And I mean that might help a little bit, but the next one's going to be the intersection of 3 features.
Right. This is the intersection of 2 features. It's not just one feature, right?
This is just one feature.
Well, no, we added this feature was passing. Then we added in place pod resize tests. When you turn on in place pod resize tests,
it's always a
you have to turn on by default because it's GA.
When we are switching it on, when we are introducing a new feature and it's become available, at that time we are asking them to periodically test. In the PRR, we are whenever we are doing the PRR check, we are asking that question. So at least it's better than not doing anything, right?
Yeah, absolutely. But in this case,
just
that was added
give us examples. But if I can give another examples, in place resize wouldn't work when swap is enabled. In place resize wouldn't work when confidential VM is used as a runtime. So there are so many combinations when test is not running that we cannot just account for any possible combination of runtime and swap and kernel parameters that people will run. That's why we will
I don't think anybody's disagreeing with that, though. The more specific one is, we should test it when we do new, which I totally agree with. But my point is that in this case, static policy is much older. And so when we went to test in place pod resize, we did confirm that it's fine with conformance, but we didn't catch if you turn on this other older optional thing that it doesn't pass. And that introduces the matrix of all of the options, which is not tenable. That if someone reports that it's broken, we should look into what we can do. The tricky thing with this one here is that we don't want to have we need to find a way to just fix the test without having to feature detect. We do not want conformance tests sniffing the cluster and changing behavior.
Right.
So that's not obvious. But if we find a solution, we should ship it. But we can't commit to saying, we know that this will never happen.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about guidance for people who are writing conformance tests and promoting tests to be conformance tests, and guidance for people who are working on features. And the expectation is a new conformance test isn't going to disqualify existing GA features and configurations from being conformant without the same kind of consideration and communication and time period that we would use if we were deprecating a GA feature. Maybe there's a reason to treat some existing thing as non-conformant. We've deprecated problematic GA features in the past, but we did it intentionally with communication and advance notice.
Right.
Sure, but this wasn't intentional. And if I'm the in-place pod resize author, I'm not gonna catch this because there's too many.
Have caught it. That's the problem.
There's too many knobs that could interact.
I know, but in our guidelines for promoting a test of conformance, like we should say, like we shouldn't make new conformance tests that make existing GA, like open source GA non-deprecated features non-conformant. Like we should say that. Are we going to catch all of them? Probably not, but we should say that. And if
Okay.
we find
I
one
have
that
no
is
objection with writing that, but like as someone who's reviewing these, that's already how I'm reviewing them. It's just not possible to catch all of them. So I think it's totally fine to write that stance down. But as far as like actually addressing what happened here, we're going to need to retroactively address it, and the expectation is that's going to continue in the future.
Yeah, that's fine. And so add what some of us were implicitly reviewing conformance tests with, add that into the explicit conformance guidelines. And then the flip side is when you're doing a new feature, like one of the considerations is this new feature interoperable with our conformance tests? And if you don't know, then maybe in the job you set up to test your feature, you should run the E to E's that would show you. And if you know that it's not compatible with it, maybe there's a good reason for that, but we should call that out. Like, here's a feature, it's a hardening feature or whatever, and we know that it locks stuff down so that conformance doesn't pass, and we've decided we're okay with it, but we're documenting that in the feature. Like, if you want to use this feature, you're going to be non-conformant for these reasons.
Right.
So document it from both sides.
And it might still not help is basically what Ben is saying. So
I expect stuff will escape, but if we have these guidelines in place, that tells us how we react when we find something that escaped. If we introduced a new conformance test and someone's like, hey, I'm using this configuration that is optional, but it's GA, and it was conformant in the last release, and now it breaks, we're like, oops, sorry.
Which is exactly what Chris is telling us. Yeah.
Right. But I also think that they have to be somewhat loose guidelines because it always comes down to what's practical, like what Sergey was raising with like swap or something. Like there's going to be ways that you can configure things to not to break the portability of kind of like standard behavior, and that is sort of what Kubernetes allows, but not in the spirit of conformance.
That comes to documentation and communication, right, Ben? Then
yeah. So like I would hope that the people who are running these configurations and running through the conformance program would notice quickly when there's a new minor version and like tell us within a month or two. And so like if swap is not yet GA, I don't know if it is or not. I haven't followed it. But like if there's a beta thing and it's like, oh, I turned on the beta thing and it fails conformance. It's like, did it always fail conformance? Then I don't feel obligated to fix conformance. Maybe we just document it.
So, let me ask this question: when, did you, when the new feature got introduced, when the new feature ended up being having a conformance test, immediately you saw it, or like did you see it after 6 months or so?
So we noticed it when we went to do conformance testing on 136.
Yeah.
So our test people said that 135 passed. If I run the current conformance tests again against 135, it fails.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what happened.
Okay. So you have one more thing there. You are running the newer conformance test against the older cluster. I see. Okay.
And so
we just did that to check the conformance test, right?
136.
Conformance tests are added in like so. Yeah. One question. We only have 3 minutes left. One question. Just sort of like on a pragmatic, can we get over this speed bump? Like, can we, are you able to add nodes to your cluster that are not with static policy? And can we node select those tests to run on those nodes?
Yeah, so the way it's set up right now, not. And in this particular case, there's a proposed change to kubelet that would change the test and allow conformance to pass. So I think we have a roadmap to a fix in this specific case.
It's not changing the test, it is changing the feature, Chris, if I remember. I think the PR that was being proposed was like changing the implementation of the feature so that it won't block.
Yeah, it won't. It will fail it because the conformance test is using fractional CPUs, and in that case, resize could actually work even with the guaranteed pod and static CPU manager. If the test was using integer CPUs, then it would fail. But because the test is using fractional CPUs, there is a technical way to make it work.
Okay. So and then what we are also saying is that we'll try to get that into 137, and like, do we want to make?
Yeah. So then the question is, like, can we get that backported to 136 so that we can pass our 136 conformance tests?
For this particular issue, there was a change merged into 136 that restricted behavior in the kubelet, and so I would sort of consider this a regression in 136 in the kubelet.
Yes.
And backport the fix to the kubelet.
Yes, I agree.
I'm wondering if the conformance test is to also.
I also am not sure
right?
about that.
Yeah, right. Like if it's,
we'll rework the conformance test, John, going forward, but this we need to do. Conformance test needs 2 weeks of bake time anyway, right? Like, so we can't do that right now.
Yeah.
So our hard deadline is like January, so we have a little bit of runway.
Yeah, it's what we have to do under our rules, existing rules, Chris.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. Yeah. So, Sergey, can we land that PR? Is Sergey there? Yeah. So can we?
Yeah. So my question is like next release. Okay, I can help with that. But my question is, next release we have pod level resources that go into GA, and does it mean that we don't merge them until they support static policy, or we don't promote it conformance, but like pod level resources is there, but they're not conformant because we don't have static pod.
Don't promote it until they do.
Like having it as an EDE to verify that the behavior works properly, that makes lots of sense. And those EDEs would fail on static CPU policies.
Yeah, we can
but
have
if they're not conformance tests,
not conformant.
The two choices there: don't promote the test or don't promote the feature, right? Like until So you can pick one of the two. But the point is, land the thing. 137 should get fixed, and then do the backport, and the next 136 should have the E2E test should be fixed for Chris to work with.
We have discretion about the conformance for GA features thing, and we actually had there was a SIG Arch topic earlier this year that we need to follow up on with Dan Winship about having tests that are flagged as this is intended to be a conformance test in the future. I think that would be reasonable here, so that you can signal to us
helped out in this case a lot.
You're promoting this feature to GA. You have a conformance test in place that is starting to look like a solid test, but we're not going to promote it yet because it turns out static policy isn't ready yet.
I'm sorry, we are over time, guys. We gotta cut it off here.
Bye, everyone.
Right,
thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks, everybody. It's been useful.
Yeah.